Hello, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, April 24th. So it's 4/24/24. Anyway, I am getting another episode up for early access on Patreon and Spotify Premium. And then it will drop on Friday, the 26th. I've got to get my calendar updated here. My phone is losing battery and I forgot to charge it up on my way home. I just came from the tattoo shop and got the lung cancer ribbon with my dad's years, date of birth and date of, or year of birth and year of death. And it's supposed to be white, but there had to be some shadows in it because white is more like a highlight. It's not really like a color to put on a tattoo. And that's what color the lung cancer ribbon is. So I am drinking Java Mama Red, White, and Blue. Red, White, and Blue is the one that's usually available for 4th of July. And it is a K-cup. And I've had it since last summer. And it is still good. It's raspberries and blueberries and cream. Man, it's good. Oh, I really hope they bring it back this year, and I'm going to get it in ground coffee this time. Okay, here we go. This is a story I ran across. I ran across it when I was looking at other cases, and I have not heard of this, but this guy's a monster, and I'm going to put in a warning right now that this does involve children, and I'm not going to go into gory, I'm not going to get gory. I'm not going to do that, but I do have to explain, what he did. So just to let you know ahead of time, this story is, this case anyway, is episode 106, Simon Peter Nelson. They call him Pete, but I'm going to call him Simon just because Simon is Pete is more of a common name, and I want to say Simon because I think it would be, with all the names here that I'm going to go through, it would probably be easier to identify Simon as the killer, but my sources are medium.com, and that is also a good site that I subscribe to for more stories that I can't get anywhere else. And they really have good articles on there for true crime. And I use medium.com in my episodes. Also murderpedia.org and mystateline.com. Those are my sources. Simon Peter Nelson. He is from Rockford, Illinois. The town is Churchill's Grove. A nice little town that, you would never think a murder would happen. He was born October 2nd, 1931 in Rockford, Illinois. Now, when he was 22 or 23, his father committed suicide. And he committed suicide on Simon's mother's birthday. And this is when Simon was 23-ish. It's that year, but I didn't get a date when his dad actually committed suicide. So, but it was in the year when, I didn't get a month and day, you know what I mean? But I got the year, and it was when Simon was 22, almost 23. Now, Simon's father blamed his family for his own depression. So basically, he's blamed his family all the time for him being depressed. And then when he finally committed suicide. Simon claimed that he physically abused him when he was a child. And Simon was, I didn't realize this, but he was married twice. Now, when he had his first wife, he would always threaten suicide many times. His father killed himself, and now he's also threatening suicide. And it was especially when his first wife left him. See, they divorced in 1961. Well, he didn't kill himself. I almost want to say too bad, but In 1964, he got his second wife. Her name was Anne, and she was 9 years younger than him. He really got depressed But he never got help. So he was still even depressed when she was with him. He wouldn't get help. Now, this, like I said, this was in 1964, 60s. Again, I think I said this in the last episode. You didn't talk about mental health that much. It wasn't common for you to go get help for mental health. You hid it because people thought you were nuts. And back in I don't know if this may have been true in the 60s, even a lot of times they would put somebody in a mental institution, mental hospital, when really they weren't sick. They just needed some help. So, I mean, they weren't sick to be put in an institution. Well, this guy, I don't know. But instead, he turned to alcohol without getting professional help. He also got up to 300 pounds. And I believe me, I know what it's like to get some comfort food when you're feeling bad. I know exactly what that is. And, of course, alcohol, because I have done that myself. I try to get happy, Now, he tried to kill himself by shooting himself, but he didn't pull the trigger. And he had done that once because he thought his wife, Anne, was cheating on him. She was a figure skating instructor, so she taught many people how to figure skate. And he was complaining that she was never home enough. Now, they had 6 children. 6. That would be something if you're working and not home enough to take care of 6 children. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine. But Anne left, okay, there's 6 children. Jenny's 12. Simon the third is 10. Andrew, 8. Matthew, 7. Roseanne, 6. And David, 3. Now, Anne ended up leaving him finally, and she went to Milwaukee to be alone. Now, Rockford's like just not far from Wisconsin. It's at the top of Illinois. So she had had enough. He's always saying she's cheating on him. Well, she hired a divorce lawyer. And when Simon found out, he just went off the deep end after he found out what she was planning. But he didn't end his life when all this time he threatened he would. Anne called him after she got up to Milwaukee. She had a hotel room and said that she wanted a divorce. And that's when he went off the deep end. Now, a call came into Rockford police from the Milwaukee police for them to do a welfare check on Camp Avenue. They knocked on the door, but there was no answer. So then they went around the house. No doors were unlocked, and there was nothing that appeared odd, so they left. Now, welfare check, I just thought you could go in, no matter what. And this was on January 7th of 1978. That's when this happened, when this was all happening. And the neighborhood was cleaning up after the Christmas, Christmas had been over with, but people were taking down their Christmas lights, Christmas decorations. There was still snow on the ground. And so when they went, like I said, they circled around the house, didn't find anything, so they left. Now, they got another call from Milwaukee police. And this one was Anne had called Milwaukee police from her hotel room and said she was afraid her children were in danger and that Simon did something to him. Well, then because of that, the officers went back to the house and they were able to get through a window. Now, by then, it was 7:30 a.m. Now, I'm going to tell this and I'm going to go back and kind of explain more in detail. The officer said you can smell death right away when he went in the house. That's one thing I hope I never, ever, ever have to do. I just cannot imagine this. He found a horrific sight. On the second floor, Roseanne and Jennifer were in their beds. It said, I put bed, singular. That's right, they were in one bed. They were in one bed. And this part really got to me. But the family dog was laying next to them. One source I thought said was laying between them. This source, medium.com, he was laying next to them. So wherever he was laying, right there with them. And all 3 of them were dead. On the third floor, the 4 boys had their heads smashed and their throats cut. One boy was partway off the bed as if they thought that he had woken up during the attack. What Simon did next was he headed to Milwaukee to attack Anne in her hotel room. Now, during this beating of his wife, Simon told her the kids were dead. And the police were called, and they think they were called. The article said they wasn't really sure who called, but they think it was Simon's friend, Ernie Johnson. And I'm going to mention him in a little bit. The police were called. They got there in time for Anne to be saved. So she lived. She was okay. Except for being assaulted by Simon. And thought she was going to die. Like I said, I don't understand why they don't actually know if it was Ernie Johnson that called her, but that's what was likely, that it was likely that it was him that called the police. The children were bludgeoned so bad that they had to identify them by their footprints on the birth certificates. You know, when you get your birth certificate and you got those footprints on the top of them from the hospital. Now, this was just some of the kids. Not all of them, but some of them were that bad. And the weapons used was a rubber mallet and a hunting knife. Now, the night of the murders, I'm going to go back here a little bit. On the night of the murders, Simon talked to a friend of his, Ernie Johnson, on the phone. They ended the call around 11:30 p.m. Oh, no, sorry. Let me backtrack. He talked to a friend of his, no name. They ended the call around 11:30 p.m. and then he called Ernie Johnson, and who was a family friend, and he asked him if he could go to see Anne at the Ramada Inn and try to talk her out of the divorce. Now, he didn't live he didn't live even close to Milwaukee. It didn't say where he lived. I think he was maybe a little closer than Simon was, or maybe because Simon had the kids and he didn't want to leave them. The oldest was 12, and this was in the 70s, but I'm thinking that is why I never did I didn't really understand that, because maybe he thought she would talk to him, more than she would talk to Simon. I'm kind of surprised he just didn't go with him, but he wanted Ernie to talk Anne out of divorcing him. So Ernie did it. And then his instructions were to call Simon back after he got done talking to her. So he did, but then there was no answer. Now, this was after 2 a.m. By the time he got up there to Milwaukee, talked to Anne, and called Simon back. And then he called back again and again, but there was still no answer. I'm thinking Ernie just stayed up there at the Ramada Inn. That's where Anne was. And I'm thinking he just stayed up there since he was there instead of driving home. There were some witnesses. A neighbor heard a pounding noise around between 3 and 4 a.m. And then she heard it again at 6. But when she heard it at 6, it was the police arriving that first time. At 4:30 a.m., the newspaper delivery person saw Simon's car pulling out of their home. Now, this person said they thought it was Simon's car pulling out of the out and away from the house. Like they had been, I don't think they saw him pulling out of the driveway, but they saw him driving away from their house. And this was at 4:30. The house lights were still on. Okay, Simon got to Anne at 7 a.m. That's 2.5 hours. I would say that's probably close, I would think, from Rockford to Milwaukee. I didn't look that up, but I have been from Illinois, up to Wisconsin, and then on my way up to Door County, you kind of go by Milwaukee there. And I would think that might be close to the time frame. Simon was taken in with police when they found him beating Anne in her hotel bathroom, because they said they thought Ernie Johnson was the one that called the police when he heard him beating her. That's why I thought maybe Simon stayed at that hotel that night. Simon pled not guilty to 6 counts of murder after his indictment. Now, this was because he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. He told Anne that night of January 7th, 1978, that he killed the children when he went up to her hotel. Then he asked her, "How do you feel?" Like, "I killed the children. How do you feel?" Then he planned to kill himself in an actual car, quote-unquote, accident. He was going to do that himself to kill himself when he left the hotel. And he said that after he did this, then he started crying for his dad, calling Daddy. His dad had been deceased for 24 years. He did this before he started to assault Anne. He was calling for Daddy. This was her testimony. This is where I got this. And then she also admitted on the stand that she was having an affair. And guess who with? Ernie Johnson. He was her skating student because she was a figure skating instructor. And that's where I thought it was odd. If Simon thought she was having an affair and she was always gone doing her instructing, and this Ernie Johnson was a student, why would he have him go up? I know Anne would listen to him or talk to him, but why would he think Ernie would try to talk her out of divorcing him if he was having an affair with her? Usually the other man or other woman don't talk to the one they're having an affair with and talk him out of divorce. I just thought that was kind of odd, unless he didn't suspect Ernie was having an affair with her. I don't know. Now, the defense tried to say he was insane because he saw his dead father going up the stairs. And when I say up the stairs to the children's room that night. He said he saw his father going up the stairs to the kids' rooms. He begged his father not to hurt the kids. Then his dad's suicide came up. His dad had left a diary and Simon read it. This was after he killed himself. And it said, like I said in the beginning, his dad blamed the family for his depression. And then they also they tried to make Simon out to be a victim. The defense did. Simon said he didn't remember killing his children. It was his father, and his father who assaulted Anne. All this was taken from a book called Anatomy of a Murder. I was going to look that book up and I never did. I should have, because I wanted to. If I do, I'll post a photo of it, of the cover, if I can find it, in my Instagram. And then if I can remember to look it up and add it in there, I'll try to put it on Patreon. The prosecution brought that up, that this was out of that book. Simon Peter Nelson was convicted. It didn't take him long the jury long at all. 100 to 200 years for each of the murders. So, of course, can we say never getting out? He married in 1982 after meeting somebody named Jewel Friend. In the prison, she was teaching there. And I didn't see exactly what she taught there, but she was just a teacher, I guess, and came in. And he ended up marrying her in 1982. And in that same year, she died of cancer, that exact same year. I thought that was a little strange myself. But Anne started a life with Ernie Johnson. She ended up with Ernie Johnson. I read that there wasn't really anything else that came of her. Nobody knew, where she lived, where she moved to, and how her life became, but she is now deceased. I'm not sure exactly what year she died. But get this. Simon only spent 40 years in prison. And guess why? Because he died at 85 years old, June 18th, 2017, at a hospital in Springfield, Illinois. He was in Menard Prison, which is down in that area. I'm pretty sure it's down in that area. I know because I've talked about it before in many episodes. And then he got transferred to another one, and I never found out where the other prison was. And I didn't write the name of it down because I really wasn't going to bring this up. But then he ended up dying at a hospital in Springfield, Illinois. And this guy is a monster. I don't understand how he would. it shocks me that he was even able to get 2 wives, and especially, I mean, Anne was with him from 1964 to 1978. Now, that's 14 years, and the oldest child was 12. And it could have been a thing where she stayed with him for the kids and then had just had enough of it. Because he was abusive. He was not, it doesn't sound like to me like he was not a good husband. I'm not sure about the father. Well, you could tell how that ended up. I don't see him being a good father either. For someone who can do this, I don't understand it at all. I ran across it and I just had to do this for this episode. Wow. That's a story of Simon Peter Nelson. The name just really kind of gets to me too, just saying his name. I just cannot, and they called him Pete, which I just wrote down Simon through the whole thing. It doesn't really matter, how I address this guy, but I'm going to have, and I really cannot even stand the photo, and I'm pretty sure it's a mugshot. It's like, what the heck? If you see this look on this guy's face during this mugshot, it's like, what? I don't know why he's looking like that, but I'm going to put it in my Instagram, Facebook page, and Patreon, because Patreon lets me do images there too, where Spotify Premium does not. So, I tell you. And I did find out you can take if you're kind of savvy with links, there's a way you can take the link to my podcast you can copy it from Patreon and put it in an app. Like if you're listening to the Spotify app or the Apple Podcasts or whatever app you're listening to this on, Amazon Music, I think you can even do it in there. You can put the link in there and listen to my podcast, the bonus episodes. You can do that and just have it in your app, but I'm not sure how to do it. I've done it once, like a long time ago, because for some reason Patreon was having a hard time playing with one particular podcast, and I thought it was my signal. So I ended up trying to do that, and it worked better. It's so weird why it was doing that. It doesn't do that anymore, but this one particular podcast that I always listen to, it would do that with. It was like I could not listen to it in Patreon, so I ended up having to unsubscribe to them because I couldn't listen to any of their episodes. And then I found out it's a RSS link is what it is. You could probably Google how to copy an RSS link and put it into a podcast if you wanted to. If you don't mind going to the Patreon app to hear these, because some of them aren't in Patreon. It depends on if I get them up early like this one. So I hope everybody's having a great week. It's actually pretty nice here. Perfect weather, like 60 degrees, sunny and 60. My dad's celebration of life is this Saturday. I'm actually very excited. I got my tattoo done. I'm going to wear my necklace with his ashes in it. And I got the poster boards all ready with his photos, and I did all these different things with my, kind of scrapbooking things I do. And I'm just happy that I'm able to celebrate him Saturday. And I have all next week off. So it's nice because I'll have his celebration of life, and then I'm going to be off. And I think we have another his is Saturday, and then Sunday, almost in the exact same area, we have another celebration of life to go to on Sunday. I'm not sure yet what time it is or if we're going. I think we're going. I would like to go. I don't know. It depends on what my husband, he's busy with things with his dad too. His dad's not well either. So we've got all these things going on. It's like, oh my gosh, but I'll be glad to be off. It'll be nice time off. I'll be able to do some more, of my creating, my junk journaling. And, the only thing I've been watching so far is on Netflix. I think I did talk about Homicide New York, that new series. There's only 5 episodes in it. That, of course, I've watched that, but I am also watching Web of Lies, which is it Web of Lies? Yeah. About the internet and catfishing. And I'm going to tell you what, the episodes are so good. If you ever need to watch that, if you want to watch it it's on ID, but if there's a way you can get Max or the ID shows on demand somehow, I recommend that series. Boy, it really, oh my God. You just don't trust anybody on the internet. I mean, nobody. It's very, very dangerous. I'm actually very happy we did not have the internet when I was in high school, because I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. I would have probably actually been murdered. I'm so glad we didn't have it. I am so glad we didn't have it. So, anyway, that's all for today. I hope everybody is... Oh, I do have one more recommendation. The Dateline, there's a Dateline podcast. It's new. And it's one whole podcast about, all the episodes are on one case, about a guy that lured this girl into being in a James Bond film. And of course, it's another catfishing thing. Murder in the Hollywood Hills, that's the name of it. And Keith from Dateline is doing the narration, who's my favorite. And it's very, very good. It's so far, it's really good. But I love his voice anyway. And I really like it, but actually his voice is so relaxing. I was listening to it at work, and I almost thought I started like almost dozing because I love his voice. But yeah, it is a good one. That's Keith. I know his last name, but now I'm blanking on Dateline. Oh, I hate it when I do that. I didn't realize he was the stepfather of Matthew Perry, Chandler from Friends. He's his stepfather. I thought that was very interesting. But anyway, I know everybody's probably yelling at me right now. This is his last name. I can't think of it. Isn't that horrible? And he's my favorite one on Dateline. So that's all, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to finish my coffee. I need some caffeine after work to kind of wake up a little bit, because I'm not ready to go to bed. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. And it'll be nice being off next week. I'm hoping I should be able to have another early episode. And the third bonus episode for April. I should be able to have that up on Patreon and Spotify Premium. So have a great one, everybody. And I will see you next time.